Hey, so I was on the internet and I came across an article about our second round pick, the linebacker Jake Golday.
Yep.
And the title of the article was,
Oh boy.
Can Jake Golday be as versatile as Ben Leber?
No, you did not.
Yes, it's
You
a zone
did
coverage
not.
guy. Zone.
No idiot was able to like put those two together. There's
Listen,
no
listen. Yeah,
way.
I understand. We've talked about this, you and I, off camera before, about maybe some of the comparisons, and I know you always shut them down. Let me give you the article's case, and then because I know you have a different comp, but let me tell you what the article said.
Okay.
The article was saying essentially size and frame wise, relatively similar. Both efforted. You both have very efforted play styles. And then most importantly, you both, I know that felt like an insult to you, but
Well, it always is. It always is with the white linebackers. Well, really, this is the white player in general. I mean, if you lead with like, boy,
you're very
try,
efforted, Ben.
try hard guy. I mean, when you're a try hard guy, you're never talking about a black player. You're talking about a white player. That's just, I mean, that is an ongoing joke that we have in the locker room. So I'm glad that this person caught on to that.
Well, let me tell you something. Uh, the one piece that I thought was really interesting is the comparison he made from a versatility standpoint was, and I do believe this is something you don't get enough credit for in your career, and you're going to hate that I say that, but your ability to combine doing all the dirty work that no one really understands outside of the football world with the ability to jump out and make some splash plays. And that's what a lot of people see with Golday. So his that was his reason for comparing the two. I will cede the floor so you can tell me who the better comparison is, but I did think that was a relevant aspect of the comparison.
I mean, I suppose given that I did have a little versatility to my game, and I see a lot of versatility, potential versatility with Jake Golday.
Mhm.
But when it comes to the physical aspects of it, I mean, I was never on the Bruce Feldman's freaks list going into my last year of college or ever. And that's what Golday, he's on that list. So my comp, when we drafted him, I was watching his film and all this other stuff, and I was like, this looks like just a lighter version of Anthony Barr. And I'm not saying skin color, I'm saying weight wise. Anthony Barr was probably 250 and Golday is around 240.
Yeah.
Golday looks like a leaner version of Anthony Barr because of all the things that he can do. So let me do this real quick. I actually like kind of kind of put this thing together with Anthony Barr's scouting report versus Jake Golday's most recent scouting report. So here are just some of the anecdotal things. So the first off, I'll read off Anthony Barr's and I'll follow up what they say about Jake Golday. So Anthony Barr, they said explosive speed, right? Okay. Well, going back to that freaks list, Jake Golday was clocked at over 22 miles an hour straight line speed. That's flying for a 6'4", 240-pound linebacker. 22 over 20 is like 22.2 miles an hour, which is ridiculous. Okay. Then Anthony Barr says extremely fast rushing off the edge. Okay. What do they say about Golday? Rush toolkit with gap shooting ability and timing off the snap. Sounds similar. How about this one? Excellent in pursuit and closes quickly. Jake Golday covers ground sideline to sideline. Sounds just like Anthony Barr's comp. Ability to play in space. Golday, fluid hips and carries routes deeper than most 240-pound linebackers. Hmm. Uh, here's the good motor point. Both say good motor. Golday motor runs the same in the fourth quarter as it does in the first quarter. And last but not least, Anthony Barr can use his hands and feet at the same time. Jake Golday, run defense versus climbing linemen is impressive, meaning he can take on linemen using his hands and his feet. So I think the size comp is pretty close, and I just think their overall game and the way that they can play off the ball, on the ball, and have the ability to rush, I think is very similar.
And what I put on top of that is everybody's talking about this guy's athletic ability. Top 2% of linebackers to ever register on the RAS score since 1987, 3,500 linebackers or something crazy like that. You mentioned the freak list. but they've started using, and some people aren't going to like this, but AI to analyze film. And it's gotten so advanced that it can really get into these more instinctual aspects of a player's game, like anticipation, feel, some of these things. And uh, when it looked at Golday, it said that he had superb spatial awareness and
Mm-hmm.
his ability to be fluid while adjusting to what happens post snap with a disguised offense or realizing that something went a different direction was pretty unique. And I thought that processing ability, the fact that he has that, is something we haven't really discussed a lot. And I don't want to be the guy that's discussing a second round pick like he's a future Hall of Famer, but this is the pick I'm the highest on in the whole draft. And the underrated part of it, I think, is this processing in space speed ability.
Well, it's very similar to what we talk about with quarterbacks and all of this AI cognitive analysis that they're kind of melding together. Um, I think it's important, and I do think that maybe AI is like an overused term for this because
Sure.
they're basically just taking the Wonderlic test. There's a couple companies out there. S2 is one of them, and I forget the other one. They're basically they're taking the Wonderlic test and they're just putting it on steroids. I mean, we're in an enhanced sports game now and situation, so why don't we just go with the steroids reference? I mean, it is that on steroids. It's a different type of metrics and testing that really makes these guys have to think on the fly. It's a little bit more interactive using computers. That way they can see, they can track your eyes, they can pick up things with speed. The Wonderlic is basically you just sit down and it's a written test. It's like filling in the bubbles sort of thing. This thing is much more dynamic. And then they use the software to then marry that up with your game film, all the research that these scouts have put in and all of their inputs, and they kind of give you this readout. And so when you look at all of those things that it said, all those evaluations, the spatial awareness is superior, the way that he can diagnose things and change on the fly, that's basically what a quarterback has to do in offense. So you want that as an off the ball linebacker. That potentially, maybe not this year or next year, but potentially be the green dot linebacker. He's making all the calls and he is able to diagnose and react in real time to a bunch of variables that change in real time based on what is going on. And I think it's very, very difficult to do, and it's hard to find those type of players. So I think the software slash AI is, I think, another really good filtering methodology that these coaches don't have to guess so much anymore. And like, well, let's see if this guy can hack it in the league, the first couple of years from a mental standpoint. Hopefully they'll know that today versus waiting 2 years down the road, actually getting in a couple thousand reps before they realize, "Oh, this guy just can't do it. He can't process." They kinda know that up front.
All that said, he's coming into a pretty crowded linebacker room, right? Cashman and
Mhm.
Van Ginkel have been studs. You've got Ivan Pace and Eric Wilson is back. So to reel in my insanity as a, because here's the thing, you get a couple of picks to hit, it can change the trajectory of where you're going, especially a second rounder. So I'm probably too deep in my hope. So bring me back to what realistic expectations are. Like if you were putting me in my place about what I should be hoping to see from him this year, what do you think are fair expectations?
Well, I think he'll be one of the best special teams players on the team. Um,
Okay.
you know, he actually when he was his first 3 years, he was at Central Arkansas, and apparently the coaches absolutely lost their minds because they couldn't block him on field goal kicks. He was blocking everything. And they're like, "How is this kid doing this?" Like he just has a knack for making plays and understanding the game. Um, so they're saying that he was from day one, he was so impressive with just doing the little things. Um, to time up blocking kicks of all weird traits to have. But we mentioned how fast and strong and how he can change direction, all this other stuff. So I think special teams wise, and he's got the attitude for it. I think he'll be the number one special teams guy. He'll probably lead the team in special teams tackles this year. Um,
Wow.
but then I look at, you know, he's a developing off the ball player. I mean, it was something that he had to make the transition to because he was brought into Central Arkansas as an edge defender, and then they kind of moved him off the ball, and then he really stayed off the ball when he was at Cincinnati. Um, so I don't necessarily see him right away being able to figure out the coverages. I think that his kind of his weakest link is dropping into coverage and really understanding the route combinations behind him and just kind of being proactive in some of his drops. Um, I think he's gonna be the perfect complement to Van Ginkel when Gink needs a break. I think he's got enough twitch off the edge. He's got enough long speed. He's got a good long arm. He's not the most complete with his hand usage and his all of his pass rushing skills, but I think in certain spots, I think that he's going to be a breath of fresh air with his young speed and his young legs, and he's able to bend as well off the edge. He's pretty damn flexible for being that tall, and he can get pretty low. So I think he might surprise you with just a couple speed rushes and a couple long arms in certain situations. So um, I could see my expectation is after, let's say, maybe the quarter point in the season, I could see him getting 15 defensive snaps a game, and hopefully they're impactful snaps, and then hopefully that grows through the season.